Shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh Shem Yahushai and double honors unto the apostles and elders at Great Millstone, and honors to you brothers out there in the highways and the byways, teaching this word in all sincerity and truth. And shalom to you brothers listening and learning, and a few sisters. Ezekiel 5:16 says, "When I shall send upon them the evil arrows of famine, which shall be for their destruction, and which I will send to destroy you, and I will increase the famine upon you and break your staff of bread." And the Lord has done that many times to many nations, even to the nation of Israel. And he's going to do that, well, should I say, to many lands, and he's going to do that to the land of America too. He's going to cause a great dearth to fall upon that land. And there's I think there's over 350 million people on the shores of America. A significant amount of them are going to suffer by way of hunger, and a significant amount of them are going to die by way of hunger, which is a painful and humbling state. But the scriptures tell you in the book of Tobit that lewdness is the mother of famine, man. So because of the lewdness and the pride of America, these types of judgments are going to come down in their perfection. All right. Now, I want to get into this article because this is GMS Measure the Time. And the time we're in, the Lord is setting up this famine, and the Lord is using different political events, geopolitical events. He's using the weather. He's even using the so-called white man himself. All right, to bring this food crisis, and it's not just gonna affect America. It's pretty much gonna affect most of the Western world and most places on the planet Earth. But the main place it's gonna really hurt is America, because of the way they're used to living. Because you got certain places where people don't need to go to the shop to get food. They got fruit trees, and they got their own farm, and you know what I mean. They can do what they do. They can go hunt a gazelle down and try and get something to eat. But pretty much most people in the West are dependent on a specific structure, that just-in-time food production structure to eat, and they don't really know. They lack the knowledge or the ability to come outside of that system, to adapt. So we're gonna read through this article, and this is just a taste of what's in store. It says there is a very dangerous trend in America, and it could literally threaten the lives of every single American in the near future. America is presently on a deliberate course to follow in the footsteps of Venezuela, which you can go and look up what's happening in Venezuela right now. They're having a crisis and an issue with food, and it's only going to get worse over there. It says America has been down the starvation road before. So this is to show that this isn't something which is new to the earth, okay? And it definitely ain't something new to America, but the magnitude that's coming is going to be new. It says an estimated 7 million people starved to death during the Great Depression. That's 7 million people, man. And I guess what? A lot of them were jakes, because the poorest people suffer the most when it comes to food shortage. Because if you got money, if there's supply, you're going to be able to cop that, at whatever price. But if you're poor and you were struggling to cop it even when the supply was up, how much more when the supply is down? It says, and amazingly, these people had food preparation skills that are basically a lost art in America today, e.g. canning. These are skills that Americans no longer possess. Yeah, because the so-called white man, what he does is, in his society, he trains people more and more to become part of a much larger system. That's basically what Esau does, and then that makes the individual family or group of families become more and more dependent on the beast, on the system. If you go back in the ancient world, um, people were much more local in terms of their independent nature. Groups of families would be more independent to produce food for themselves. Whereas now you have a whole city and none of them produce food for themselves. They're relying on a system of food coming from outside of the city. You know, it's very isolating, and it puts the majority of the people very dependent on a larger system, which when that system breaks down, they're up shit's creek with no paddle. All right. These are skills that Americans no longer possess. Our collective food preparation skills consist of making sure we have enough gas to get to and from the grocery store. Okay, so the supermarket system is how people get their food now. Most people don't have their own gardens or their own plot of land where they're farming for themselves. For themselves. They don't keep a few sheep in the back garden, or you know which if you go to other countries in different parts of the world, people do that. They might keep a few chickens, or whatever the case may be. But you know that's the thing of the past in the West, really, to the most part. It says, with a staggering debt looming over the country, how vulnerable are Americans to starvation if and when an economic collapse takes down our economy? Which that economic collapse is coming. It's inevitable, right? It could be this year, for them to bring in that SDR with the one, and bring in that one world currency, and that world war. He says it's not a secret that the world is in a desperate situation when it comes to overall world hunger. In the last year, I was able to find statistics. The World Bank cites the disturbing fact that there has been 51 food riots in 37 countries in recent memory due to high food prices, and the further escalation of food has no end in sight. The World Bank further speculates that the present state of food prices could lead to political instability, and this is the kind of stuff that wars are made of. And what is the number one cause of rising food prices according to the World Bank? It is the increasing demand for food from a growing population inside of China. The future military implications should be self evident where hungry nations invade less hungry nations. But what about the United States? How vulnerable are the Americans to the possibility of mass starvation? Let's find out. Almost beyond belief, a full 79% of people that use food banks purchase typically um, buy cheap, unhealthy food and still just have enough to feed their children. The price of food continues to quickly outpace the paychecks of most middle class families. For example, the average price of ground beef has just hit a brand new all time record high. There are nearly 50 million Americans that are dealing with food insecurity in various degrees of distress. Just one out of seven Americans rely on obtaining food. Sorry, just over one out of seven Americans rely on obtaining food from various banks at one point or another, and these food banks are beginning to experience record shortages. In a case of defend the nation and starve, military families are feeling even more stress from not being able to obtain sufficient quantities of food, as 25% of American military families require outside assistance in getting it enough to eat, which is just shows you how wicked and demonic America is, because here it is, their military is going around the world destroying other countries, cornering the drug trade, what I mean, stealing up all the oil, and then the grunts that are out there actually killing the people, they're not even getting a proper share of the spoils. They're not getting a share in the opium money, or the gold they stole from Saddam or Gaddafi, or the assets they stole from Gaddafi. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not even getting a piece of that. Their families are back home starving, man, and that's a damn shame. Okay, it's require outside assistance in getting it. That's why you have that movie, I believe, Three Kings, where them dudes try to get a piece of the pie. You might as well try to get something out of it, man. You know what I mean? Require outside assistance in getting enough to eat. What does this say about an administration which uses our soldiers to defend the nation and then kicks them to the curb by denying their VA health benefits, as the government also starves their families because they cannot survive on what we pay our soldiers? This disgraceful but this represents Obama's fundamental transformation of the American way, which it ain't Obama. That's you crackers. That's you devils. That's your nature. You so-called white people are the devil. Even if Obama wasn't in power, the same thing would happen. It's the same thing that happened in Rome. Rome ate itself. Okay, do your research. Research about Rome. Rome ate itself. The rich men of Rome, okay, passed laws and legislations which only benefited them and did not benefit the average Roman citizen. And they did it to a point where the corruption destroyed Rome itself because there's no balance. You know what I'm saying? You just eat. If you eat yourself, what's gonna be left? Nothing. You know what I'm saying? You devouring your own self. They ran out of people to devour. There was a point where in the Roman Empire they were conquering, so every time they conquer a new nation, all the spoils and the slaves and that would come back, and it would be beneficial for a time. But then they were so uh what's the word to say? Uh Covetous and gluttonous that they would still overexert themselves in that wealth until the point where they had to keep going and reconquering nations. But you just conquered that nation; they don't have anything win. So when you reconquered them, you ended up spending more funds trying to reconquer them than what you really got out of them after you reconquered them, man. So basically, the monies, the revenue started drying up, and then them elites wanted to maintain their lifestyle, so they started taking from the common people, bringing in more and more slaves. But the slaves ended up taking away all the work from the average Roman citizen. So you ended up with a whole heap of Roman citizens that were unemployed, and the slaves were doing all the work, which was benefiting the elites, but it wasn't benefiting the Rome as a whole or the people of Rome. And it's the same thing that's happening in America today. That's why you got all these illegal immigrants coming across the border and they're complaining about it. But the elites, including Donald Trump and these guys, are never really going to do anything about it because those illegal immigrants help them to make money. It reduces their bottom line. Okay? They don't give a damn. Same thing. So these guys don't care, man. This is disgraceful, but this represents Obama's fundamental transformation of America, the American way. Yeah, whatever. Shockingly, one of every six men ranging in ages from 25 to 54 are not employed, which is probably a bit more than that. Median family income in the United States is 77% lower than it was in 2000, which then, if you're including inflation in that, you already know what time it is. The United States is now in 19th place in the world and falling. Okay, great because it's the greatest country in the world, and I'll die to protect it. There's no way that the majority of American families can keep pace with food inflation, as the wages of Americans are now inversely correlated with rising food prices. And then you got this TTP or TPP or whatever, where they can ship in gooks and pay gooks like 50 cents an hour, man. Hey, but who's gonna benefit from that? Just some corporations, and that's it. And they take their money offshore. So this is a prescription for disaster. The most vulnerable to starvation within the present economic climate are the children, as an amazing 26% of all children are living below the poverty level. And most of that is Jake, okay? And we certainly cannot ignore the fact that 50 million Americans are on some form of federal food stamps. With these kind of distressing statistics, a significant number of Americans are vulnerable to politically motivated food blackmail in these times of economic distress. Yeah, that's one of the main reasons why, pursuant to Revelations, the 13th chapter, and the mark of the beast, that's one of the main reasons, one of the main motivators, because human beings are very simple, man. You could go to the Maslow uh, hierarchy of needs, man. At the end of the day, according to the flesh, all right, which Yahweh Shai conquered the flesh. But according to the flesh, man, the male, female body, man, has specific needs which must be met: food, water, shelter, and security. These are basic needs that everyone is motivated by. If you starve a person, you can motivate them, manipulate them using that starvation very easily. It's a strong want. Okay, you can maneuver a person more with their hunger than you can with a full belly, and you're offering them £1 million. You could get a guy to do something real crazy if they're starved, man, because the desperation level is much higher. It's lower on the level of things which they need. Okay, if a guy can't eat, it's a serious problem, man. If a guy doesn't feel secure, it's a serious problem. So a lot of people gonna take the mark of the beast for what? For security, for so-called safety reasons, and for food, and for water, and for shelter. That's the main reasons why a lot of these people are gonna take the chip, because the government is gonna be able to offer you these things in a certain amount. Okay, right? That's why Kissinger said you control the oil, you control nations, you control the food, you control the people. This isn't nothing new. This, if you go back to Egypt, the same thing happened with the Great Death. Through food, the Egyptians sold themselves into slavery to the Pharaoh. It's not rocket science. Would they have done that any otherwise? No. But like I said, food and fair shelter, those are strong motivators, man. Okay, what's one of the main reasons they're taking away the rights of the people? Through fair, through security. People want security, man, so they give up their rights. It's just psychology, man. It's just how many Americans are vulnerable to blackmail by starvation. Nobody can be totally accurate in the estimation. However, the numbers listed in the above paragraphs provide a good starting point from which to estimate the risk. Now let's deal with this, because this is actually going to happen, and especially through martial law, world war. Because in a world war, you think food is going to be coming from one place to another, from one part of the world to another, in the middle of a world war? No, countries are going to retain their food resources for the war effort. You know what I'm saying? So any country that relies on importing food, any form of imports, you're gonna have problems. You're gonna have some serious problems, man. Like the UK, the UK imports most of its food, man. That's gonna be a problem, because that's a supply issue. Even if you got the money to buy it, if it ain't there, then what can you do? All right. So disruption to transportation would prove catastrophic. The critical element which could most impact the number of Americans who would vulnerable to starvation has to do with disruptions in our transportation system. The purpose of efficiency and to maximize profits just in time. Food deliveries take place at grocery outlets several times per day. Without these JIT deliveries, we would see immediate shortages occurring on day one of any disruption to the delivery of our food to its final destination. Although about 10% of all Americans live near substantial food supplies, my previous investigations have revealed that the fact that transportation disruption would be life threatening to most Americans and the effects would be realized within 2 days. Most Americans are at most 9 meals away from starvation, meaning after those 9 meals, they don't have access to any more food. 9 meals. And if the electricity goes off in your house, you can cut that way down, because any meat you had in the fridge is gonna go off. Okay, any perishable goods you got in your freezer, if the electricity goes to your freezer, that food is gonna go off pretty soon after it thaws out. Okay, so that's another thing you gotta look at. You might have a fridge full of food, but if the electricity goes and you ain't got a generator, that fridge full of food, unless you're gonna eat it all in the three days, it's not gonna keep. Okay, it's gonna rot. That's what happens to food. All right, my previous investigations revealed the fact that transportation disruption would be life-threatening to most Americans, and the effects will be realized within 2 days. Most Americans, at most, 9 meals of waste. Starvation, which is the amount of food that the average person has stored, according to FEMA. Now let's talk about the Obama administration makes a bad situation worse. Well, you could forget about Obama unless they do this shit before Obama goes in. See, these people always have to focus in on, oh, it's Obama. That's something that these crackers do. They like focusing in on Obama, because he's a so-called black man. So they want to say that Obama's come in, which he is a fucked up president, but Obama's a puppet, man. Obama's doing what he was told, man. And if they have another election and they bring a cracker, I mean, I doubt they're gonna bring another nigger in, but who knows, man? They might actually bring a real nigger in this time. But they as soon as if they put Donald Trump, you think Donald Trump's gonna recede all these executive orders that are already on the books? Come on, man. Let's be real, okay? It's got to be real. All right, you gotta be real about the situation. This ain't of nothing to do with a bomb, man. This is your shadow government, man. Your elites. All right. The BLM have been busy trying to illegally seize every farm and every ranch that it can in the West. At one time, I wrote that out of 52 ranchers who lived in and operated near Clive Bundy's ranch, 51 of these ranchers were forced to move off their lands. Now, with Clive Bundy's arrest, the number has dropped to 52 out of 52, as the Bundys will no doubt be forced to sell, with most of the Bundy males sitting in jail without the possibility of making bail. So they're not only is the weather fucking up the American breadbasket, but the government itself is coming in and confiscating the lands. Okay? Confiscating the property. Because it belongs to the government anyway. There's no such thing as a loyal title, man. Okay? All land in America belongs to the federal government, man. Alright? You know why it does? Because they got the big guns. And they'll come in and take that shit. Okay? Even if you got a loyal title, which you don't. But I think there may be way back in the 16 and 17 something they were handing out loyal titles. Fair enough, but if you look it up, when you having a loyal title and as a sovereign on your land, you have to have the military means to defend your land as yours. You know, and you can Google a loyal title and read about that. So ultimately, it's the government's land. They got the military. All right, it's theirs. Okay, they really ultimately everything belongs to them, and that's what when they establish martial law, that's what they're gonna enforce, pursuant to all them executive orders to confiscate all property, and including you. All right, so here's what it is. It says, why does the BLM and its first cousins at the EPA want to drive farmers and ranchers off their land? To get a clearer picture of this issue, let's take a brief look at Executive Order 13603. Alright. It says, with the stroke of his pen, Obama has total and absolute control over all food, where his EO 13603 states. Alright, so, hey, guess what? Even if you stored up food, man, they can come in and confiscate that shit, man. They're not just gonna be confiscating guns, they're gonna be confiscating food. They're gonna be confiscating water, man. They come into your house. That's why the scripture says they're gonna spoil your goods. Them military units, them martial law troops come up in your house. They ain't just looking for guns. If you got a large supply of food in your house, they're gonna take that food. Take that shit back to the FEMA camp. If you got a large supply of water, they're gonna take that water, man. It belongs to the government, man. Okay? And if you want anything, you're gonna have to go to them, man. It's the New World Order is pretty much communist, man. It's straight up some fucking communism shit, man. Alright, everything belongs to the state, man. Food resources means all commodities and products, simple, mixed, or compound, or complements to such a commodity or such commodities or products that are capable of being ingested by either human beings or animals. Hey, even the clothes on your back, that's a food resource. You could eat clothes, the leather on your shoes. Irrespective of other uses to which such commodities or products may be put, at all stages of processing, from the raw commodity to the products thereof in vendable form for human or animal consumption. God damn, even the dog food, them guys, you know what I mean? Even your dog, hey, hey, anything, man, that you can put in your mouth, man, them elites want to take, man. Food resources also means potable water packaged in commercially marketable containers, all starches, sugars, you know, vegetable and animal or marine fats and oils, seed, cotton, hemp, and flax fiber, but does not mean any such material after it loses its identity as an agricultural commodity or agricultural product. Okay, well, maybe not the clothes on your back, but hey, they mentioned cotton. But they own that too. They own you, man. That's an executive order for that, man. The internment camps, man, to work. Food resource facilities means plants, machinery, vehicles, including on farm and other facilities required for the production, processing, distribution, and storage, including cold storage of food resources. It could take your fridge, and for the domestic distribution of farm equipment and fertilizer. So let's get to the conclusion. These mandates. Let me just try and fit all this. Okay. These mandates arising out of Executive Order 13603 is exactly what is happening in Venezuela. It is not a case of kind of, sort of, could be. It is a case of this is exactly what is happening right now in Venezuela. In tomorrow's article, I will draw the unmistakable parallels between the mass starvation that is just beginning to happen in the United States right now. While you are waiting for tomorrow's article, please allow me to leave you with teaser. Number one, the Baltic Dry Index is the most accurate measure of how many dry products are being shipped around the world. The BDI, once over 5,000, has now declined to a record low of under 300. Wow. Wow. One of the major contributors to the crisis is that oil is approaching historical lows. Middlemen who ship products need a stable oil price in order to profit from their role as distributor. When the price of oil sinks far enough, it is not longer profitable to ship anything, including food. We are quickly approaching this point inside the United States. If you think that this information is highly disturbing, and it is, as the facts in this article are a story unto itself, however, this piece is merely a setup article for what will be revealed tomorrow. Teaser 2 has to do with the coincidental death of Justice Scalia. I find myself in, it's just going into the gun control and all that shit. But yeah, it's just, that's, you see what it is, man. And that's what's about to go down out here, man. It's gonna come suddenly, man. All these different things, man. They're gonna cut off the electricity. You're gonna have a problem. Hey, this is gonna be mad hell. It's gonna be mad hell, man. It's gonna be like a train crash, like a train just rammed into a wall at high speed. Just total chaos, man. Just people flying around in the carriage, man, getting thrown around like ragdolls. That's what's gonna happen. This system's gonna break down and come to an abrupt end, and all you people are gonna be like crash test dummies, man, flying around, dying by one thing or another, man, in the midst of mad chaos, mad crisis. Because it's not just gonna be one crisis, it's gonna be every crisis you could possibly think of happening at the same time. Sanitary crisis, biological weapons being released, martial law. Hey boy, it's not a joke thing. Better believe that. Okay. I want to get this scripture. Second Ezra 6 and 22, it says, "And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, and the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty." Like your storehouses represents like your local supermarket. All of a sudden, your local supermarket's gonna be empty, man, and you really gotta think to yourself, what the hell you gonna do? All right. The trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. There's gonna be announcements on the news announcing that they've instituted martial law, stay in your home, and this is gonna be on every channel. And that's when everyone's gonna realize the shit has hit the fan, man. You know what I'm saying? When you get that that public announcement, right? And it says, "At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies." Hey, because the scripture says a friend cannot be known in the time of prosperity. When all hell breaks loose and people are desperate, that's when you're gonna see the true evil inside these people, man. And the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Whosoever remaineth from all these that I have told thee shall escape and see my salvation and the end of your world. And that's beginning with the elect, because the elect, they're going to be covered and protected and guided through this tribulation. But the two-third, they're going to be caught up and fall by means of the famine or the pestilence or the sword, and the ultimate sword, which is the nuclear missiles, man. That's why it's very important to be covered on in under the banner of Yahweh Shai, man. You know what I'm saying? That the Lord be with you to survive and to persevere through these times, man. Because this is some real shit that's gonna go down, and the shit that's gonna go down isn't gonna if the Lord ain't with you, the hey, famine ain't a respecter of persons, man. A bullet ain't a respecter of persons. A biological weapon ain't a respecter of persons, man. You catch some Ebola shit, that's your ass, man. There ain't no happy ending to that. And it could be Ebola. They listen. See, a lot of people think that Ebola stuff. Listen, those were all test runs. They have Ebola for real. They got Ebola. They've got biological weapons that really will kill 90% of the people and are highly virulent, man. They got that shit in the lab, man. If you don't believe me, well, you're gonna find out about it, man. When they release that shit for real, and that shit ain't gonna be discriminatory, man. If one person in the family gets it and it comes in that house, the whole family to Ross is gonna get killed. That includes the little 5-year-olds and 4-year-olds and even a baby. This thing, when this goes down, man, if the Lord ain't with you, man, you're gonna see the reality of cold hard death and destruction, man. All right, I just wanna get, you know, this thing that's gonna go down, man. No one ain't ever seen nothing like it before, man. It's serious. It's some serious shit, man. It's gonna be some terrible shit, man. There's gonna be a lot of dead bodies, man, piling up all over the spot. All right, and the plagues are already beginning to be sent upon the world as we speak, anyway. Okay. 2nd Ezra 16:21 says, "Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion." What's the great confusion gonna come from? Well, the water shut off, the electricity shut off, your bank account's empty. There's gunshots. Look, confusion. You don't know because you have now entered a realm that you ain't never been in before. You're used to a certain mundane trend of life. You wake up Monday morning, you know, well, if you got a job, you wake up Monday morning, you have your shower, you drink your coffee, whatever the hell it is, you go to work, and you've been doing the same fucking thing week after week, month after month, year after year. The Grammys comes around, the Oscars come around, Valentine's Day comes around. It's just the same mundane way of life with the same things coming back around again. Christmas is coming, blah blah blah. You walk. You might have the odd thing here or there that might take it out, but it's something very small and it's very brief, like the odd little thing that might happen, but then literally life still goes on and carries on the same way. It's like this same so-called normality of life, the same system. You go and shut, same thing. But what's about to go down is going to just totally put a full stop. Like I said, I can only describe it as when you see them things with the crash test dummies. Everything was all good until you hit that wall, man, and then everything start flying around in the car. That's how it's gonna be with this thing that's gonna go down, man. It's gonna be completely out of the ordinary, man. Like, this is just total. It's gonna be total crazy shit going on. Total shit that you just not used to see happening before your eyes, man. And it's gonna happen. That's what people are gonna be very confused. They're not gonna know what's going on. But guess what? There's one group of people that's not gonna be confused, pursuant to Isaiah 33 and 6, and that's the men of the Lord. Okay? Because why? The scripture says, knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of thy times, and strength for salvation. All right. Um, it says verse 22, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine. So that's already done, sealed, signed, sealed, and delivered, and we've been reading about that. And the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy, and the sword shall come in the name of the bullets, or it shall come in the name of biological weapons, or missiles, or getting bludgeoned to death by a baseball bat. Okay, and the dead shall be cast out as dung. Now, who's used to that? Who you gotta be, unless you from fucking Rwanda, you know, you was alive. Who was used to dead bodies? Just when's the last time? I can't tell the last time I seen a dead body, man. Do you know what I'm saying? This is not something that people normally see unless you go to a funeral or some shit. If I can't tell the last time I've been to a funeral, you know, it's fucking weird. But um, you ain't used to just walking down the street and you ain't even used to seeing dead animals on the floor, let alone just dead people lying around stinking up the place. So it's just gonna be completely out of sync, man. And the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them. For the earth shall be wasted, and the cities shall be cast down. Because all these cities are proud. All these people from these cities are proud. That's why all these cities have got gay pride marches. They're proud. They think, like, especially these cities in the West, they think the shit don't stink. Like New York, Washington D.C., London, Paris. They think that nothing can't happen to them, man. They think that them cities are like everlasting beacons of light or some shit. The Lord's gonna cast them cities down, man. Them cities are gonna catch all kind of missiles and they're gonna be stinking. The sanitary is gonna be shut off. You can't flush your toilet, man. So that stink is gonna come up, man. It's gonna be crazy, man. You know what I'm saying? Hey, but we bring these things out to warn. Hey, the main message again is repent ye. Repent. If you're an Israelite, repent. And hey, for the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, man, for the mercies of the Lord, the mercies of Yahweh Shai, that peradventure you will be saved, man. And you don't be cast out as dung with the wicked, you know? So, hey, with that, I don't make it too long. I'm going to say shalom.